Have you ever wondered why no matter how hard you work, it never feels like enough? Why every day feels like a race you didn't choose to run, one that always ends the same way, tired, broke, searching for a reason to keep going? You tell yourself it's temporary, that things will get better if you just push a little harder, stay a little longer, sacrifice a little more. But deep down, you know something isn't right. You can feel it every morning when your alarm drags you out of bed, every night when you stare at the ceiling wondering where the time went. It's like the world was built to drain you, slowly, quietly, until you stop questioning why you're so tired all the time. They told you life was about chasing success. But what if the chase itself is the trap? What if the system was never meant to make you free, but to make you believe you are? You're told to dream big, but the moment you try, the weight of reality pulls you back down. Rent, debt, deadlines, the endless grind. Every goal you chase feels just out of reach, like a carrot dangled in front of you by hands you'll never see. And still, you run, because you're afraid of what happens if you stop. They've built a world where exhaustion feels normal, where constant struggle is glorified as ambition, where your worth is measured by productivity and rest feels like guilt. You weren't born into freedom. You were born into a system that feeds on your time, your attention, your energy. A system that wants you distracted enough to work, but never awake enough to question why you're working. It keeps you busy enough to survive, but too tired to live. You can feel it, can't you? That quiet growing anger, the sense that life shouldn't be this hard, that something somewhere has gone deeply wrong. You look around and it seems like everyone's struggling, everyone's just trying to hold on. But here's the truth, they don't want you to see. The struggle isn't random, it's designed. Prices rise, wages don't. The rich get richer while you're told to be grateful for what you have. They keep you in a loop of scarcity, so you'll never have the time or strength to break free. They convince you that burnout is success, that exhaustion is progress, that this is just the way things are. But it doesn't have to be. The first step out isn't quitting your job or moving to a new city. It's waking up, seeing the illusion for what it is, realizing that the game is rigged not to destroy you, but to keep you just comfortable enough not to rebel. The system feeds on silence. It thrives when you stop asking questions. Every time you accept that's just how it is, you hand them another piece of your power. You don't need permission to take it back. You don't need approval to stop running on a treadmill built for someone else's gain. You just need awareness. The courage to look around and say, enough. Because once you see the strings, you stop dancing to their tune. You start thinking for yourself, acting for yourself, living for yourself. That's when everything starts to change. Maybe that's why they keep you tired, because tired minds don't question. Tired people don't rebel. Tired souls don't dream beyond survival. But you're not tired because you're weak. You're tired because you've been fighting a system that was never built for you to win. The moment you realize that, the game shifts. You stop blaming yourself. You stop chasing what they told you to want. You start building your own definition of success. One that isn't about more money or status, but about peace, clarity, and control over your own time. You weren't born to serve the machine. You were born to outgrow it. And the world won't hand you freedom. You'll have to claim it yourself. But if you stay awake, if you refuse to settle for exhaustion as a way of life, something powerful happens. You begin to see through the noise. You begin to choose differently. You begin to live differently. And in a world built to keep you tired and broke, choosing awareness is the most revolutionary act there is. You've been told to keep your head down, to work hard, to wait for your turn. But what if your turn never comes? What if the system was never built to reward you, but to drain you just enough to keep you compliant? Every time you give in to the lie that it'll all pay off one day, they win. Because that lie keeps you quiet. It keeps you obedient. It keeps you from realizing the truth. That the people who built this world never intended for you to rise. They designed it to keep you chasing shadows. They sell you the dream of freedom while tightening the chains around your time. They want you distracted by the next paycheck, the next bill, the next promotion that's supposed to fix everything. But none of it ever does it? Because real freedom can't be found inside a system designed to keep you tired enough not to seek it. They've mastered the art of illusion. They make you believe the problem is that you're not working hard enough, that you're not disciplined enough, That if you just grind a little longer, you'll make it, but deep down, you know the truth. The system doesn't reward effort. It rewards obedience. It rewards those who keep the machine running, not those who question why it exists. And every time you push through exhaustion just to keep up, you're feeding the same machine that's feeding off you. But here's what they can't control: awareness. Once you see the trap, it loses its power. Once you stop measuring your worth by their standards, you begin to take it back. Every act of awareness is an act of rebellion. Every moment you choose stillness over mindless productivity, you weaken their grip. They want you addicted to progress because it keeps you from peace. They want you chasing success because it keeps you from truth. But when you wake up to that, when you stop running their race, you become dangerous. You start to see how everything connects. The media that feeds your fear, the ads that prey on your insecurities, the jobs that keep you just busy enough to never have time to think. It's all one system designed to keep you dependent, docile, distracted. And the only way out is to stop playing by their rules, to build something they can't control. Your mind, your time, your purpose, because when you own those, they lose their power over you. They can take your hours, but they can't take your vision. They can take your comfort, but not your conviction. They can bury you in debt, in noise, in chaos, but they can't touch a mind that refuses to submit. That's where real freedom begins. Not in rebellion against others, but in liberation from the illusions they planted in you. The illusion that your value comes from work. The illusion that rest is laziness. The illusion that you're powerless. You are not powerless. You've just been conditioned to believe you are. They taught you to doubt your potential because they fear what happens when you remember it. They built walls around your imagination because they know that every revolution starts with a new idea. So, think dangerously. Question everything. Don't let exhaustion become your identity. Don't let fear become your faith. There will come a moment, maybe soon, when you realize that the system doesn't collapse with noise, it collapses with awareness. When enough people stop feeding it, it starves, and it all starts with one decision: to take your life back from the illusion, to stop surviving and start living, to stop existing for them and start creating for yourself. Because you were never meant to be another tired soul in a broken system. You were meant to rise above it, to break the silence, to remind others that they can too. The world doesn't change when everyone wakes up at once. It changes when one person refuses to fall back asleep, and that person can be you. You've been living in a world that profits from your exhaustion, where your worth is tied to your output and your peace is treated like a luxury you can't afford. You were taught to believe that if you're not constantly grinding, you're falling behind. But behind what? Behind who? The truth is, there's no finish line. The system made sure of that. They built a race with no end so you'd never stop running, never stop consuming, never stop obeying. And while you chase survival, they build empires out of your time. You've been conditioned to call this normal, to celebrate overwork, to romanticize burnout. They convinced you that endless struggle is noble, that being tired is a sign of dedication. But it's not dedication, it's control. It's the perfect trap because it makes you destroy yourself while believing you're doing the right thing. You wear your fatigue like a badge of honor, but deep down you know something's wrong. You can feel it every time. You wake up dreading the day ahead. Every time your dreams feel smaller because you're too tired to chase them. They've stolen your time and called it purpose. They've stolen your peace and called it ambition. And the cruelest part, they've made you believe it's your fault. That if you're not happy, you just need to work harder, stay longer, do more. But the truth is, no matter how hard you work, the finish line keeps moving, because the goal isn't for you to win, the goal is to keep you running. And yet, somewhere inside you, there's a spark that refuses to die, a quiet voice that says, there has to be more than this. That voice is your truth, the part of you they couldn't erase. It's the part that remembers what freedom feels like, the part that knows you weren't born just to survive, you were born to live. And that voice, if you listen to it, will start to wake you up. Slowly, fiercely, relentlessly, because once you see how deep the control runs, you can't unsee it. You start to notice the small things, the way everything is designed to keep you distracted. The endless ads, the fake news, the social media noise that feeds your insecurities and steals your focus. Every scroll, every click, every purchase, it's all designed to pull you further from yourself. They don't need to cage you when they can just keep you numb. But awareness changes everything. The moment you stop reacting and start observing, you begin to take your power back. You realize you don't have to play their game. You don't have to chase what they tell you to want. You can create your own definition of success, one that isn't measured in money or status, but in freedom, clarity, and peace. That's when the system starts to lose its grip, because it can't control someone who's no longer asleep. It's not an easy path. It takes courage to step away from what everyone else accepts. It takes strength to say no when the world tells you to comply. But every act of defiance, every choice to rest, to think, to live with intention is a blow against the system that profits from your fatigue. Every moment you reclaim is a victory. Every boundary you set is rebellion. And every time you choose truth over comfort, you move closer to freedom. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to break patterns, to question everything, to rise above the noise. The world doesn't need more workers who follow orders. It needs more thinkers who challenge them, more people who refuse to be owned by fear, more souls brave enough to live awake in a world that thrives on sleep. So stop waiting for permission to change. No one's coming to save you, and that's the beauty of it. You don't need saving. You just need to remember your power. The same system that keeps you trapped also fears your awakening, because one awakened mind can't be controlled. One conscious decision can shift everything, and once you start living with that awareness, you don't just free yourself, you show others how to do the same. The system wins through silence, through apathy, through your belief that nothing can change. But the truth is, everything changes the moment you decide to see clearly. You are not small. You are not powerless. You are the one thing the system can't program. Human consciousness. And when that awakens, the game ends. You were never meant to live your life on autopilot. Yet that's exactly what they want. A population too distracted to question, too drained to resist, too afraid to think differently. They don't need to control you with force. They do it with fatigue. They wear you down until you confuse comfort with happiness, until you stop noticing how much of your life you've handed over piece by piece. They tell you this is how it's supposed to be. Work, sleep, repeat. Pay your bills. Stay quiet. Don't ask why you're still stuck when you're doing everything right. But deep down, you know why. The system doesn't reward obedience. It depends on it. Every day you're given just enough to keep going, but never enough to break free. Just enough freedom to feel like you have a choice. Just enough money to survive, but not enough to rest. They've made exhaustion the new normal, a universal language of struggle that keeps everyone too busy to unite, too distracted to rise. And when you try to slow down, guilt creeps in. Because they've taught you to measure your worth by how much you produce, not by how deeply you live. You don't own your time owns you. And that's exactly how they want it. But there's a moment that changes everything. The moment you realize the system isn't a cage made of walls, it's a cage made of beliefs. Every story you've been told about success, purpose, and value was written to serve them, not you. They sold you the myth that if you work hard enough, you'll make it. But the truth is, you were never meant to make it. You were meant to chase, to keep running, hoping one more sacrifice will finally set you free. But it won't, because freedom doesn't come from following their rules. It comes from rewriting them. The world doesn't need more tired people chasing empty goals. It needs people who've had enough, people who stop waiting for permission to take control, people who see through the illusion and decide to create their own path. That's where real change begins. Not with anger, but with awareness. Awareness that your attention is your currency, your energy is your vote, and every moment you give to the system is another brick in its foundation. The more you wake up, the weaker it becomes, because the system can't survive without your participation. It can't feed on people who've stopped believing in it. You've been told to be realistic, to play it safe, to follow the rules. But realism is just another word for limitation. When it's built by people who profit from your fear, safety is just another form of control. When it keeps you from your potential, the world doesn't move forward because of those who stay comfortable. It moves because of those who dare to think differently. The moment you choose to step outside the lines, you stop being a follower and start becoming a force. This isn't about rebellion for the sake of chaos. It's about reclaiming what was always yours. Your mind, your time, your power. They can't take those from you unless you hand them over. Every time you choose peace over pressure, clarity over chaos, you weaken the system's grip. Every time you decide to live consciously instead of reacting mindlessly, you become harder to control. And that's what they fear the most. A mind that sees, a heart that refuses to break, a soul that remembers it was never meant to serve. So stop waiting for the world to change. It changes when you do. It starts with one person who decides to see clearly, to act differently, to live intentionally. That's how revolutions begin. Not with noise, but with awareness. You don't have to shout to be powerful. You don't have to fight to be free. You just have to wake up. Because once you do, they lose everything they built on your silence. You are not just one person against the system. You are the spark it fears most. And when enough sparks ignite, the illusion burns away. That's the power they never want you to discover. That's the reason they keep you tired. But you're not tired anymore. You're waking up. And once you wake up, there's no going back. You can feel it, can't you? That quiet pull inside you. The one that knows you're meant for more than this endless cycle. It's the whisper that refuses to die, no matter how much noise the world throws at you. The system wants you numb, indifferent, distracted, but your soul keeps pushing back because deep down it remembers what freedom feels like. It remembers that you weren't born to just exist. You were born to create, to build, to rise, and every day you stay asleep, that part of you fades a little more. But it's still there, waiting for you to listen, waiting for you to wake up. They don't fear your anger. They fear your clarity. Because once you see how the game works, you stop playing by their rules. You stop buying what they sell. You stop measuring your life by their standards. And that terrifies them. They built an empire on your confusion. They profit from your distraction. Every time you doubt yourself, they win. Every time you give up on your potential, they grow stronger. But awareness flips the power. The moment you stop reacting and start understanding, you take back everything they stole from you. Your time, your peace, your purpose. Look at the world they've created. Loud, chaotic, overstimulating by design. You're surrounded by noise that keeps you chasing validation instead of meaning. They flood your mind with content, opinions, and fear so you never have space to think. Because thinking is dangerous. Reflection is rebellion. Stillness is power. When you slow down, you begin to notice, and when you notice, you begin to question, why does success always feel empty? Why does progress always lead to more stress? Why do the happiest people seem to have the least? The answers are simple. Because the system was never meant to make you fulfilled. It was meant to make you functional. But you are not here to function. You are here to awaken, to take your exhaustion and turn it into energy, to take your frustration and turn it into fire. You've been taught to fear discomfort, but discomfort is the doorway to freedom. It's the sign that you're breaking patterns, that you're stepping out of the loop. They'll call you unrealistic, idealistic, rebellious, but that's what they always call those who see through the illusion. Remember this, every great change in history began with someone who refused to believe that the system was unbreakable, and now it's your turn. You don't need to change the whole world. You just need to change how you see it. Because the moment you change your perspective, you stop feeding their machine. You begin to use your energy consciously. You invest it in yourself, not in their distractions. You create, you learn, you grow, and that's what they can't control. They can't control your schedule, your income, even your comfort, but they can never control your awareness. Awareness is freedom. Awareness is revolution. And this revolution doesn't need noise or chaos. It needs focus. It needs people who remember their power. People who build instead of consume, who think instead of follow, who lead themselves first. Because once you lead yourself, no system can lead you again. That's the ultimate threat to their control. A human being who knows who they are, what they stand for. The system thrives on fear, but fear loses its grip the moment you see it for what it is, an illusion. They built it to keep you small, but you were never small. You were just told to believe you were, every limit you've accepted was planted in you. Every doubt, every insecurity, every rule that told you what's possible, they're all part of the same design. But designs can be broken. And once you break them, you begin to live on your own terms. The truth is, no one's coming to set you free, because freedom isn't given. It's claimed. It's taken back moment by moment, decision by decision, thought by thought. The moment you stop seeking permission, you begin to rise. The moment you stop waiting for the system to fix itself, you start creating your own. That's when real power begins. Not in rebellion against them, but in the reclamation of you. So listen closely. The world doesn't change because everyone wakes up at once. It changes because someone like you decides to stop sleeping. Someone who realizes their awareness is the spark that can set everything on fire. And once you ignite that spark, once you choose to live awake, there's no system on earth that can stop you. Every generation is told the same story. Follow the rules, work hard, be patient, and one day it will all make sense. But that day never comes, because the story was never written for you. It was written to keep you docile, obedient, and distracted. They gave you dreams that fit inside their system, then told you to call it ambition. They train you to trade your freedom for stability, your creativity for conformity, your purpose for a paycheck. And you accepted it not because you were weak, but because you were taught to believe that's what life is supposed to be. But deep down, there's a voice that never stopped whispering, this can't be all there is. That voice is your truth fighting to surface through the noise. The system wants to silence it because that voice is dangerous. It's the start of awakening. It's the part of you that still remembers what it means to live instead of survive. They built this world to keep that part buried, to keep you so busy chasing money that you never stop to ask why you need so much of it just to feel okay. They flood your mind with distractions, so you forget what stillness feels like. But you're starting to see it now. The cracks in the illusion, the lies that once felt like truth, the moments when the mask slips and you realize the whole thing is an act. You were told the system is too big to change, but every system is fragile once people stop believing in it. Every empire that looked unstoppable fell when its people woke up. That's the power they fear, not protests or noise, but awareness. The quiet, focused awareness of people who finally understand their worth. Because when you know your worth, you stop selling your life for survival. You stop being a pawn in someone else's game. You stop feeding a machine that cannot exist without your consent. They need you to feel powerless, because powerless people don't question, they comply. But the truth is, you hold more power than you've been told. Every decision you make, what you buy, what you consume, what you give your attention to, is a vote, and the system runs on those votes. Every time you choose awareness over distraction, you take one brick out of its foundation. Every time you choose creation over consumption, you weaken its control. It doesn't crumble all at once. It collapses piece by piece, moment by moment, as more people wake up and refuse to participate in their own manipulation. They'll call you crazy for seeing it. They'll label you a dreamer for believing you can live differently. But those words are meant to shame you back into silence. Because the truth is, they're afraid of you, afraid of the one thing they can't control, your mind once it's free. The moment you start thinking differently, you become unpredictable. And unpredictable people can't be managed. They can't be controlled by fear, by money, or by approval. They stand tall, even when the world tries to bend them. This is what awakening feels like. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, it's quiet. It's the moment you start noticing the patterns, when you realize that the game only works when you play along. It's the realization that you don't need to destroy the system to defeat it. You just need to stop feeding it. You reclaim your time. You take back your mind. You choose to live with intention, not out of obligation. And slowly everything changes. Because once you stop running their race, you start walking your own path, a path built on awareness, purpose, and peace. And that's when you become unstoppable. Not because you've gained more, but because you've finally let go of their expectations, their validation, their control. You realize the power they feared was never theirs. It was always yours. And when you live from that truth, something incredible happens. Others see it, they feel it. Your courage becomes contagious. Your clarity becomes a mirror that forces others to face their own truth. That's how revolutions begin. Not with armies or politics, but with individuals who refuse to stay asleep. You don't need permission to rise. You don't need validation to live free. All you need is the courage to remember who you are and the strength to never forget it again. Most people spend their lives running from silence. They fill every moment with noise, notifications, and distractions, terrified of what they might hear if the world ever went quiet. Because deep down, silence exposes the truth. Who they are, what they've settled for, and what they've been avoiding. It's in that stillness that you realize how much of your life has been lived on autopilot, following routines designed to keep you busy but unfulfilled. The world taught you to chase what looks impressive instead of what feels right, to measure success by comparison instead of connection. But no matter how far you run, there's always that quiet voice inside you whispering that something's missing. That voice is not your enemy, it's your compass. It's trying to lead you back to yourself. You've been conditioned to believe that happiness is something you earn after enough sacrifice, that peace is a reward for hard work, that meaning comes from achieving more. But the truth is, most people climb ladders that lead nowhere. They burn years chasing approval from people who don't even notice. They fight battles that don't matter just to avoid facing the war within. And the system loves it that way. Because as long as you're busy proving your worth, you'll never realize that you already had it. The world profits off your distraction. Every advertisement, every social feed, every new goal is designed to keep your attention pointed outward. So you never have time to look inward. But the moment you pause and actually listen to the discomfort, the confusion, the longing, you start to remember who you were before the world told you who to be. You begin to see how much potential you've traded for predictability. And that realization hurts at first, because it's easier to blame the world than to face the truth that you've played a part in your own cage. Yet that pain is not punishment, it's awakening. It's the first spark of change. The discomfort you feel is the signal that you're ready to grow, ready to let go of the version of yourself that's settled for less than what you were meant to be. Everything changes the moment you stop seeking permission to be great. You don't need anyone to validate your dreams, to approve your journey, or to tell you when it's your time. Your time is now. It always has been. Every second you spend waiting for the right moment is another second you give away to fear, fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of standing out. But fear is a liar. It disguises itself as logic, convincing you to stay where it's safe, where it's familiar. Yet nothing extraordinary was ever born in comfort. The people who change the world aren't fearless. They're simply more loyal to their vision than to their fear. You were not born to blend in. You were born to stand out, to disrupt, to build something so real that it forces others to question everything they thought was possible. But that requires courage. The courage to be misunderstood, to walk alone, to keep going when no one claps for you. Growth is lonely at first because it demands separation from everything that once held you back. But on the other side of that loneliness is freedom. The kind of freedom that can't be bought, only earned through self-awareness, discipline, and purpose. The world doesn't need more followers. It needs leaders with conviction, people who live with intention, people who wake up every day and choose meaning over mediocrity. You can be that person, but it starts with a single decision: to stop running from your truth and start building a life that aligns with it. Every action, every thought, every choice from this moment forward can either pull you back into who you were or push you closer to who you're meant to become. Choose the latter every time, because the real power isn't in changing the world, it's in changing yourself so deeply that the world can't help but follow. You are the revolution they never saw coming. Not because you shouted the loudest, but because you finally remembered your own voice.